Good morning. I want to share with you. So I think where I left off last time was I had joined the Navy. I've gone to boot camp. Oh, I didn't. I don't know if I told you when I was in boot camp. They assigned me to the drill team. So I was one of those guys with the chrome helmets and the white leggings and the bayonets on their rifles and flipping the rifles around behind your back, over your head to the other person. I did all that stuff. So that was pretty cool. That was I must have had the discipline or the attitude or something like that. And it was fun. Really tore up my hands in the end, but it was a lot of fun to be a part of that. That was just like a small piece of what these other professional drill teams do, but that was great. I think I left off with going to school with the CCTV school, got connection with my first ship which was an ammunition ship called the USS Nitro, on a pier 3 miles long in New Jersey. And that whole thing, just the whole sentence there just kind of paints a pretty gloomy picture, but New Jersey is beautiful. And I had a place right by the beach. The only challenge was it was an older ship, old steamship, and they were making these new jet turbine type ships, and that wasn't the ship I was on. So I went to the Mediterranean, and I remember one of the weirdest things that I saw out on the ocean was a cow, and a cow must have fallen off of a boat or something, but it was a cow floating upside down in the ocean, just bobbing along. I remember how weird it was to lay on top of torpedo boxes that had torpedoes in them or missiles in them, because I'm working on some heat sensing device up in the ceiling. Or, my first day I went up on the mast to go fix some wind detection system, like a weather vane type of thing. And then I'd be at the bottom of the ship fixing or doing maintenance on what they called the sword. And the sword would detect how fast the ship was moving through the water, but it had to be at the very bottom of the ship. So you had to take this ladder down this really tight space all the way down. It smelled like mildew and mold. And I remember there was a couple of times we had to paint that space. So you're down at the bottom of the ship painting with this toxic lead-based paint probably. And very little ventilation, but that's just kind of the way you did things. You just buck up and get it done. And then the next time I'd be down in the engine room in the middle of the night working on the desalination system, the system that took seawater and made it into fresh water, which is the water we use for everything. And that world is a whole different world down there. It's hot and it's sweaty and it's dirty and grimy, and the guys down there are much different than the guys up top. They got a little bit more grit to them. So, you got to be able to take some shit when you go down there. You're going to get, razzed on, and, you say one little wrong thing, one little thing, it's going to be taken into a big joke, and you're going to be the brunt of the joke. So you can't go down there with any thin skin. You got to have kind of a thick skin to go down there. So I got kind of used to it, and I got to make some friends down there. And once you start, don't be a dick. So that's kind of the thing, is that don't be a dick, and you're going to have some friends, and then those guys are pretty good to have around. So I really enjoyed having friends that were machinist mates and welders and pipe fitters and that kind of stuff. So you got to have the right attitude for that. Let's see, went to Israel and Turkey and Greece and Sicily and Barbados and Palma de Mallorca and Morocco. What else did I leave out? They say Italy. I went skiing in Italy. Went to Sicily. Went with my friend Ron Little. Ron, if you're on this, man, that was a lot of fun. Man, that was what is that, 30 something years ago. Ron was kind of like, the quintessential ladies man. So I went out with Ron. He was a black man, and we went out to Sicily, and we went to this place called the Cactus Club. And I remember I had the idea that I just wanted to get a drink, just kind of get off the boat and go out there. I would go to these little cafes and just get a little rum and coke and some chips or something and just watch the people go by. Where a lot of the other guys just out to go get shit faced, and I wasn't really into that. So went out to this Cactus Club with him, and I remember it was all mafia run for what I found out later. So we sat in this booth, and they hook you up with drinks, which are like, you know, 1/3 filled of the glass, and you get, you know, charged a whole rate. And then they set some girls next to you, and you know, my friend got this cute Oriental girl, and then I got this large Italian woman. And you know, he ended up going upstairs. You go kind of, you start there at the table, and then you go into this like a hoochie coochie room where you can kind of kiss and feel each other. And then if you're really serious, you want to pay more money, then you go upstairs and go have sex. So that's what my friend did. I assume, Ron. So I went back to the ship, and I forgot to mention that on the way to this Cactus Club, I remember the our chiefs, you know, our supervisors would say, whatever you do, you stay on the main road, don't go down any side streets. What do? We go down the side street because we figure we can just go down the side street. It's a shortcut right to the ship. That must have been afterwards because we were kind of drunk. So we were walking down the street, and all of a sudden we hear all this barking, and these two pit bulls come out of nowhere and start chasing us. And me and my friend Ron were just running down. We're laughing, we're running, we're scared. And one of the pit bulls catches up to me and grabs my calf in its teeth. And I could not get this dog off of me. I tried to, you know, coax it off of me. I tried to shake my leg. It just wouldn't get off me. I ended up kicking it in the head just to release its grip on my calf. And as it turned out, you know, the dog backed away, and you know, none of the owners came out to beat the crap out of us. We made it out of there. And then I think I told there's got like the watch on the ship, the officer in charge. I told him about it, and they said you should probably go to the hospital and get that checked out for rabies. And as it ended up, there was no rabies, and the dog didn't even break the skin, which is pretty wild. So ended up having that, and then we went skiing. I went skiing for like the second time in my life. Maybe no, that was the first time in my life. And all I could make is left turns. So, but it was $25, and they took us up to the Italian Alps and gave us lunch and ski equipment, all for $25. So I couldn't pass it up. Had great time, just not any trouble, which is a great time. So if you don't get in any trouble or beat up or something, then it's a pretty good time. So I went to Turkey, had a good time there, went to Israel. It was weird being in Israel, went to Haifa, Israel. It was weird being around people with machine guns that were just kind of standing on the corner in this beautiful beachside town. And it's just, that town was so beautiful. It's just like being on the beach in California or something. Went to Barbados and had flying fish for dinner. Let's see. Palma de la Mallorca was really beautiful. Had pasta there. It's funny how you think about what you ate, but that's kind of what you go out there for sometimes. It's just to get away from the Navy food, and you have something, you know, real food. But Palma was beautiful. I remember our ship was anchored out, and we had to run boats in. We had to run these small boats to take people from the big boat into shore, because of course the big boat was too big. So at that time there was this kind of a storm going on, and they had these big waves, probably 5-foot waves, 6-foot waves that were right there at the ship. It must have been bigger than that, because I remember the small boat rising way up too high for the ladder that was lower down, and then way down below the ladder, like 5 feet. So you'd have to kind of wait to the right time so that the wave, the trough of the wave, the crest of the wave would bring you up to the ladder where the step is, and then you'd have to jump across. And imagine doing that sober, and then imagine doing that with a few drinks in you. And then I remember the guy driving the boat. So they used to kind of volunteer these welders, HT guys, and pipe fitters and stuff, machinists, to be also boat drivers. And I remember him driving the boat, and he was getting shocked So not only is he trying to navigate these waves coming in and navigate getting close to the ship and navigating getting to the shore, but he's getting shocked by the metal steering wheel. So I just think about that whole life was just a whole different way of living. Like, I used to think that, when I was in boot camp or on the ship or something, there are people just hanging out, having a beer at home, watching the show. And we're out here in 45, 35-foot seas and being tossed around and, bumping your head on the bulkhead on the wall and just all the stuff that goes on with, being out in the middle of the ocean and the cold North Pacific or the Mediterranean. So as soon as I got to that ship, I realized that I really needed to get back to the West Coast. So they had this thing called swap. And if you found totally on your own, if you found another sailor that did your job, that was around the same rank as you, that had the same qualifications as you or pretty close, and you did all the work and you got all the signatures from all the people that didn't want you to leave if you were a good sailor or good technician, now you got to get all their approval. So I spent a long time, spent months finding this guy. He wanted to come to the East Coast. I wanted to go to the West Coast. We were similar. I think it was like one rank lower than me. But I found someone. And then I had to go to every officer of the ship that had a part in my life there and get his signature. And I remember going to the chief engineer, the guy that's he's the big poobah down in the engine room. And, he likes what I do. He knows I'm qualified. He knows that it's taken me a while to learn the systems down there. And then he doesn't want to change. He doesn't want to train a new guy. And so I got a lot of shit from him, trying to get the signature. I finally got his signature. And that was like the piece de resistance. If I got his signature, I could go to the XO and the captain of the ship and get their signature, and that would be easier. And I remember the captain gave me a hard time about this, but like in a joking way. I got it all done, got all the paperwork done. I found out where I need to send this. I had to mail it. I had to wait till I got into port, mail it off to, the Navy Department. And I waited and I waited and I waited, and I waited, and it got lost or put in a circular file. So I started the whole process all over again. So it took me a year and a half, and all this time I'm going to the Mediterranean, and remember that was a whole thing with the Beirut bombings and all that. But I got it all done again and sent in that paperwork again, and it went through. So I found the guy. We ended up kind of crossing paths along the United States, and I found this new frigate, and it was great. It sounded really good. It was a frigate about 3 years old. They were on a trip right now to Central America or Puerto Vallarta or something. So I missed my opportunity there, but it was a brand new ship run by jet turbines, not steamship. In fact, the engine room was cold because it was air conditioned. And but the only thing that I didn't really realize, which was totally okay, it was a submarine chaser, and that meant that we were out at sea all the time. So we had 2 helicopters that specialized in searching for submarines by dropping basically microphones in the water. And then our ship had something called a tail, which is like a long microphone dragged through the water to listen for the frequency of the submarines. So I got to the ship and checked in, and a lot of like Navy games going on there. Like they have this thing called shellback, they haze you and give you a lot of hard time when you cross the equator and that kind of stuff. And my shop was no different. A lot of free time going on there, so you can kind of play tricks on people and stuff. But great bunch of guys, and ended up going to India, to Cochin, India, and Philippines, and a small island or an atoll called Diego Garcia in the middle of the ocean. And all this time, my twin brother was in a plane. He was flying as a crew member in a P-3, which also searched for the same submarines that we were chasing around. So what my brother's plane would do, what his squadron would do, is fly around the area and drop these microphones, these floating microphones in the water, and I forget what they call it, sonobuoys. And then once they track the submarine, find out the general area, then they kind of release them to our care, and we go chase them all around and follow them around and stuff. So that's what we did. But the thing is that the Russian submarines love to hide in the worst weather in the North Pacific. So it's cold, it's rainy, it's big, huge waves, and your ship is plowing through these waves, and the bow is coming out of the water, and then diving back down into the water and losing the whole, I mean, not losing, but like being covered up in the wave. And because your bow is sunk into the wave, the stern or the back of the ship is out of the water completely, or coming out of the water so much that the whole ship shakes because the rudder is coming out of the water and spinning. So you're diving down, the whole ship shakes, and then it comes back down to level again. And then I remember times where the ship would roll certain ways, and there's always something in the back of your mind that if this thing rolls beyond a certain degree, it's got so much um, top weight, that's the other word, it's top heavy, that the mass and everything would just kind of carry it over, and eventually it would capsize. So you're always concerned about that. The thing that I used to really love doing, because I'm crazy, is I used to love being outside during all that. And I just didn't, I felt too cramped down in the shop that we were in, and just rolling around and, just dealing with that. I wanted to be outside. So I would go outside and just hang on to the rail. And I know I looked crazy out there, but I loved being out in the wind and the rain and the waves and watching them crash against the ship, and, wondering if I could see anything out there, and just imagining what it would be like if the ship capsized and you have to be out there all alone. So I really like that. So that was my time with the USS Kurtz. So the first one was USS Nitro, and the second one is USS Kurtz. And what happened? Skip to the a little forward here. My stepfather Hank, who was in the Navy for something like 30-something years, he was in the reserves, and he actually requested my ship, the USS Kurtz, when it went reservist. So he got to be on the same ship that I was on after I left the ship. And then eventually, it's been so long that ship got decommissioned. That means that they take it out of service. So let's see. I got married at the last part of my naval service. I had about 6 months left to go. I met Gina, and let's see, got together. We started talking about marriage, and then we set the date, and everything was a go. And then my ship got on emergency deployment to the Persian Gulf. That was during the whole very first Persian Gulf thing. I think that must have been 87. So so my last 6 months, those are the months that you hope that you'll be back at shore. You can start looking for a job, start putting resumes out there, and start getting things prepared for your release from military service. But that's not what happened. So ended up going to Philippines, India, Diego Garcia. And I have a little quick story about this. Is we were planning we've got word that we're going to go to Diego Garcia for a little R&R. And Diego Garcia is this an atoll that's 4 miles long, with 13 volleyball courts on it. And so you got all these volleyball courts, you got a pizza place, an ice cream place, and a gym, and a bar. And that's basically it. So you got all these sailors all going there, drinking outside in the water and playing volleyball, doing their, all this kind of stuff, going to the gym. And I got word from my brother, who was temporarily stationed on that atoll. So I thought, how cool is that? That I would meet him from the Persian Gulf and meet him there. But what happened was his plane flew to Japan, and he ended up getting a cold. So you're not allowed to be on the plane when you have a cold, not only to infect other people, but your sinuses and the pressure of the airplane, all that affects that. So he had to stay in Japan. And so I went to Diego Garcia, and I'm walking down the beach, and I see this cute girl on the beach, and she sees me and she says, "Hi, Ken." And I had to tell her, which probably freaked her out, that I'm not Ken. I'm her twin brother. I'm his twin brother. And so I had some explaining to do after that one. I know there's also the other option. I didn't take that option. Thought to be a good guy, a front guy. But I did end up playing volleyball against the same teammates that he used to play against when he was living there. And the funny thing is that his partner, you usually have like a default volleyball partner that you always play with because you get really used to each other. And my partner was Scott, and that's the same name that my brother had of his partner. So we ended up playing the same people indoors and outdoors, having a great time there. Um, let's see, going from there, we just hung kind of, we were like the gatekeepers of Persian Gulf, the ship. And so we would just watch for things happening. And there was, you know, one of our sister ships got hit by a missile. It was the USS Stark. So they were like 37 number, the number of the ship was 37. We were 38. And that kind of put us on high alert. So there's always these threats of small boat attacks, and you have to dress up in your gear and go to battle stations. And it seemed like the whole trip, you know, understandably so, was just all these drills and drills and drills and general quarters and battle stations and all that all the time. And just kind of, it kind of wears you down all the time. And after a while, you don't take it so seriously. And of course, that's when, you know, shit usually happens. But I ended up coming back to Hawaii, and I was at the last bit of my naval service, and I think I was E5, getting ready to get promoted to E6. I had done all the qualifications, but I was so ready to be done with the Navy and get back to my wife and get back to, you know, being there with her and stuff. And I was so done with everything that I actually skipped my ceremony to get my E6 promotion. I was E6 on paper, but you go through the ceremony, la la la. But it was in Hawaii, and a few thousand miles away from the mainland. I decided to go back to the mainland and skip the ceremony. So they checked me out, and I think I remember meeting the ship when it got back and doing my final checkout. And it was a weird feeling. It's like a feeling of being in a job for a long time, knowing that you're going to leave the job or the school, whatever, and they're not gonna need you anymore. They got someone to take your place. It's kind of I guess it's this feeling of rejection or abandonment or something in there. But I remember the feeling. There was kind of a sort of happy, elated, and also sad at the same time. But that was my time in the Navy. And let me just check the time here. We're doing pretty good. But I remember, so me and my friends were so like rebels against the military. And it's odd to really think that such rebels would be in the military without being drafted, but there we were. So we're always kind of doing things our way. You know, we used to go inside the place where the armory, not the arm, yeah, the armory. We had some friends that were gunners mates, and they took care of the guns. And they had this really small shop, and the shop was about 4 feet wide by 10 feet long, and it was all metal. And we did this little video, and one of the parts of the video is that we do some slam dancing in that little shop. And so we'd have a bouncer guy that would, you know, watch the people come in, and he'd kind of rough them up a little bit, and then we were all dressed up like slam dancers, and then we'd go inside the thing, and we were doing stage dives in this small little place on the ship, crazy stuff. And so all my friends were kind of that, very like an alternative crowd. You know, we listened to punk rock and alternative music. And so when it came time to really detaching from the Navy, we all kind of talked about it, like we really want to do something. So we went to the beach, and we brought all of our uniforms, not our dress stuff, but just our regular uniforms, and set a bonfire and burned them up. And it was very satisfying. It was like it was very healing. and we made fun of it, and we, you know, joked about it, but I'm sure there was some real healing going on there, because, you know, there's some intimidation and manipulation and mind games and all that stuff that went on for years, and not much you could do about it. And so it was like, so I know it's different, but it is the sort of the feeling of being released from a prison a little bit. I know there were some great things that I got from being in that service, but there's also, for me, wanting to be free and liberated and myself, and not being manipulated in some other way. It was very healing to have that bonfire. And I think I did keep my dress blues for a while. I have no idea where those are now. Um, but that was great. And we all kind of went our separate ways. You know, one friend went to be um, a pilot for these little boats, like a tugboat pilot. I got into technology and being a technician. I think my brother went into insurance. So we all kind of did our different things and found our way. And it really is something to say, I've been sort of taken care of, like the Navy or the military has taken care of me for so long. Even if now they kind of give you lots of alcohol, there's always alcohol around. And so, but if you have an alcohol problem, they take care of that too. If you have family problems, which you're going to have, they can take care of that too. Oh, there's my alarm. So, so it was fun and exciting and sort of scary to kind of go out there into the world, because for a long time you've been not a civilian, you've been military. And so to step back into that and go, wow, how does the world work? You know, how do I need to show up here? I've been so regimented or disciplined to do things in a certain way. And there's an adjustment there. And so one of the things that I ran into is, you know, trying to get a job without a college degree. And even though I've been doing some really technical, difficult, challenging stuff on a moving ship in the middle of the ocean, which should account for something, there's still the perception that a degree would give you the qualifications that you need for this job. So, but I did find a job, found many jobs, and kind of found my way into McDonnell Douglas as a technician, and working on automated equipment and robotics, and eventually went into programming. I taught myself how to program, you know, website programming. I learned several different languages, but I was always I guess you call me a poser. And I always had this, what's it called? Imposter syndrome. So I always thought that they're gonna find out that I really don't know my shit, that I don't really know the ins and outs of computer. I never had a computer science degree. I've just kind of figured this thing out. I knew how to take existing technology and massage it, make it into my own, and then use it for something else, or change the colors of things. But I got really good at connecting databases with websites, and so that became my thing. Uh, but I guess I'll say the rest of the story to the part where I ended up quitting the whole industry, ended up going out on my own as an entrepreneur, as an independent, having several jobs all at the same time, teaching myself computer repair, teaching martial arts, getting going into Hapkido, which is a martial art that I was in, and ended up qualifying for my second degree black belt. So all that stuff is, I'll say that for the next episode. Thank you so much for sticking out to listening to the last word here. I love you. Thank you. Bless you. Have a most wonderful day. I'll see you next time.